Welcome to Mika Amcha Yisrael Parashat Chaye Sara. We find Eliezer, the loyal servant of Avram Avinu, embarking on a mission of great importance to find a wife for Yitzchak. He devises a simple yet profound test. He would ask the maidens who came to draw water for drink, and the one who not only gave him water, but also offered to water his camels would be the one destined for Yitzchak. Why did Eliezer choose this test of kindness? Rivka was raised in a home that was filled with idol worship and deception. Shouldn't Eliezer have been more concerned about her beliefs and her upbringing? Rabbi Yehuda Zev Segal, the Manchester Rosh Yeshiva, teaches that Eliezer focused on chesed, the essence of a person's character. As it says in Tehillim, Olam chesed yibaneh, the world is built on kindness. Eliezer knew that without this foundation, no home could uphold the legacy of Avram Avinu. And this emphasis on chesed leads us to a remarkable story that reveals the true power of kindness and the hidden greatness of an unassuming soul. Reb Chaye Maletsky was a brilliant Talmid Chacham who led a small, dedicated chabura in an isolated shtibel. Among them was Yitzchak the Shikur, a regular figure seen and everyone thought was a simple drunkard and used to sit near the oven for warmth. The chabura tolerated him, dismissing him as a lost soul. One harsh winter day, as they sat steeped in learning, a man burst into the room shivering and desperate. "My horse has fallen in the snow," he cried. "Without help it will freeze to death and I'll lose my only means of livelihood." Reb Chaye hesitated, remembering that Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, and with a heavy heart, he told the old man, "I'm sorry, but we cannot leave now. Perhaps you can find help in the city." The man's face contoured in anguish. As he left, tears were streaming down his cheeks, and Yitzchak the Shikur, who had been lying quietly by the oven, suddenly lifted his head. "Chaye," he rebuked, "you made a terrible mistake. You abandoned a fellow Jew in his time of need, and for this, you will all face consequences." The room fell silent and in thick with an uncomfortable unease. Despite their discomfort, the Chachamim returned to their learning, but Rav Chaye couldn't ignore his troubled conscience. And moments later he cried out, "Rabotai, we have to go and help him." The group sprang into action, donning their coats and stepping into the freezing night. Yet the heavy snow had erased all of the traces of the footsteps, and the man they searched frantically for wasn't to be found in the biting wind. At last, one group found him. He was huddled behind his dead horse, his tears frozen to his face. "We came as soon as he could," they said, but their words sounded hollow. "Too late," the man whispered, his voice filled with sorrow. "It's too late." They returned to the shtibel. Their hearts were heavy with guilt, and Yitzchak the Shikur, still lying near the oven, stared at them with piercing eyes. He pointed to each one of the members in the chabura and he prophesied, "You will die in battle. You will be crushed under a wagon, and you, Chaye, you'll suffer an illness that will cost you your leg." With those words stunned them, they were dismissed as the ramblings of a drunkard, and that night they prayed with remorse. But as time passed, the memory of Yitzchak's rebuke faded. Many years later, Reb Chaye received a visit from Yitzchak the Shikur, now an old man. He was no longer disheveled, his gaze was clear and intense, and he asked Reb Chaye to be present that night, sensing that his end was near. Reb Chaye, still puzzled by the man who had once dismissed him, reluctantly agreed, but Reb Chaye arrived at Yitzchak's small shack near the cemetery. He was met with an astonishing sight. Yitzchak lay on his bed, and his face glowing with an otherworldly lit. He lit a candle beside his bed. "And thank you for coming, Yitzchak," he told him. "I plan to leave this world tonight, and I ask that you ensure I am buried near the Sadiq." Reb Chaye's heart raced. Yitzchak the drunkard buried among the righteous, he thought to himself. Sensing his hesitation, Yitzchak pointed to a small, worn chest lying near his bed. "Open it," he instructed. Reb Chaye opened the chest and he gasped. Inside were stacks of kitvei yad, writings that were filled with profound insight and Kabbalistic wisdom. "I was not just a drunk," Yitzchak said with a faint smile. "I was one of the hidden 36 tzaddikim. These writings are my legacy. Take them as proof for people to understand who I was." And with tears in his eyes, Yitzchak whispered, "Shema Yisrael," and his pure soul departed. Reb Chaye tore his shirt in mourning, realizing the enormity of his mistake, and he ran through the street shouting, "The tzaddik is niftar!" The townspeople gathered, stunned, and begged forgiveness. for their disrespect, and they laid Yitzchak to rest among the righteous. As Rav Chaiko went clutching the precious writings that proved the greatness hidden behind a simple facade. One member died tragically in World War II, another was crushed by a wagon in Eastern Europe, and Rav Chaiko himself fell terribly ill and required an amputation of his leg. He knew this was divine punishment. When the doctors came for his other leg, his wife's fervent tefillot saved him, and she begged Borei Olam to take her own leg instead. Her selfless plea was answered, and soon after, she too lost her leg. This story serves as a sobering reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Yitzchak the Shikur was judged by what people saw on the surface, dismissed as a mere drunk, when in truth he was one of the Lamed Vav Sadikim, the hidden pillars who uphold our world. It took his final moments in the treasure chest of Torah to reveal who he was, but by then it was too late to honor him. We learn from both Eliezer's test and Rivka's story of Yitzchak the Shikur that true greatness is often concealed beneath the humble exterior. The ultimate measure of a person's character lies in the traits of their chesed. Everyday small opportunities arrive for us to do chesed. Our Yetzer Hara may whisper that our own pursuits are too pressing, that our own Torah study is too important to interrupt. But Torah without chesed is a body without a soul. It's lifeless and incomplete. When a fellow Jew comes, don't hesitate. Every face we encounter may very well be a mask. Behind it lives a tzaddik, a treasure chest waiting to be revealed. May Am Yisrael merit to see beyond the mask. Shabbat Shalom and Vorach.